Then on Sports Central, we go for a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 13 matchup between the Oregon State Beavers and the Oregon Ducks, two of your top teams in the Pac-12 this season, going head-to-head in Week 13. A lot's at stake here for both teams. Oregon 10-1 on the season. This team is still very much a national contender. If they can win this matchup and the Pac-12 title game, they should be in the college football playoff. But as for Oregon State, this team is 8-3 on this season, pretty much out of contention at this point. But for Oregon State, everything that's happened with the Pac-12, I mean, this is the last week of the regular season of the Pac-12 as we know it. So for Oregon State being a team that's got a future of uncertainty right now, no better way to go into the future with a win against their rival in Oregon. We'll be covering a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with your team trends. Oregon State lost to Washington last week, 20-22. Definitely a disappointing loss for the Beavers there. They were favored in that matchup, and honestly, I really thought Oregon State could win that game, but in the end, the Huskies found a way. And so for Oregon State, 8-3 on the season now, 5-3 in conference. I mean, this is still a really good football team here. They're out of contention for the Pac-12 at this point, but they're still very dangerous, and I would not want to play Oregon State in a bowl game, that's for sure. But for Oregon, this team beat Arizona State 49-13, 10-1 on the season. I mean, ever since that Washington loss, this team is really, they've been dominant the past few weeks. And you consider the 35-6 win over Utah, the way this team beat USC as well, and just beat up an Arizona State team that's, they're bad this season, but they obviously got it done. For Oregon at this point, they're very much in the college football playoff picture. I feel like at this point, everyone's talking about Florida State and even Washington over Oregon. But if the Ducks can beat Washington in the Pac-12 title game, that should put this team in the top four. They're very much still a national contender. Games be on Friday, the 24th in Eugene. Kickoff is 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Spread's going with Oregon here by 13.5. This kind of surprised me, seeing as heavy of a spread as this one is towards the Ducks. Oregon State is still a really strong team on both sides of the ball. They're one of the more balanced teams in the Pac-12. And honestly, I would go as far as to say these are your two most complete teams in the Pac-12 this season. I mean, Washington is a much better team on offense than defense. Washington is the best offense in the country. I really do think that. But when you look at Oregon and Oregon State, both teams have stronger defenses, and also offensively, both teams can really get it done. So that's really what it comes down to in this matchup. Over under 62.5, FPI is also going with Oregon, 81%. So, I mean, Oregon is a heavy favorite in this matchup. Series history, the Ducks lead at 67-49. It's obviously a long history between Ducks lead at 67-49. It's obviously a long history between these two teams. Oregon State won the last matchup in Corvallis, but Oregon has won 7 of the past 10. Your stat comparison, Oregon State 16th in points per game. They're 36th in points allowed. Once again, both teams, these are two of your more balanced teams in the Pac-12. And well-rounded teams. You got two teams that are strong offensively, but also can get it done on defense. And most teams in the Pac-12 this season have got strong offenses, but not so much for the defense. But that's different for the Ducks and the Beavers. You got two teams that are pretty balanced on both sides here. Oregon State's 44th in passers game, 23rd in rush yards. This is a strong rushing team here with Oregon State. Don't forget about Damian Martinez, who's ran for over 1,100 yards this season and 9 touchdowns. Really solid season for him. And defensively, this team is really strong, especially against the run. But as for Oregon, second in points per game, 11th in points allowed. This is a strong passing team. Bo Nix could absolutely be on his way to the Heisman this season. He's passed for nearly 3,600 yards this season, 35 touchdowns, over 2 picks. You got Bo Nix and Michael Penix, really your two main contenders. I would say Jaden Daniels should be up there as well, but Bo Nix probably has the edge on Michael Penix right now, just because Bo Nix doesn't turn over the ball quite as much, and he's been a little bit more consistent, I would say, than a Michael Penix. But Bo Nix, he's been incredible. And don't forget about this is a guy that I feel like is pretty underrated. Troy Franklin for the Ducks in the receiving corps. He's already got 1,200 receiving yards on the season, 13 touchdowns. I feel like all the attention's going to Ohio State's Marvin Harrison, but Troy Franklin, this guy is incredible for the Ducks and definitely should be getting a lot more attention. But for defensively, the Ducks are pretty similar to the Beavers, 61st in pass defense and then 8th against the run. Your recent matchups, Oregon State lost to Washington last week by 2. They beat Stanford 62-17 before that. Also beat the Buffs on the road 26-19. Lost Arizona by 3. Beat UCLA 36-24. I mean, Oregon State, that's a big reason why I think a lot of people thought the Beavers were going to win last week, was because of how well they've played at home this season and also how competitive they've been. I mean, all three of their losses have come within 3 points this season. This team could totally be a 9-2 or even a 10-1 team right now. It's just those close, tough losses this team has taken have kind of come back to bite. But for the Ducks, beat Arizona State 49-13, beat USC 36-27, beat Cal up, also beat Utah 35-6. That was a really impressive win for the Ducks. They're going up against a strong Utah defense, and offensively for Utah, they've been bad this season, but the Ducks were able to shut them down. And before that, beat Washington State 38-24. Your key points: Oregon State 8-3. This is a balanced team that is brutal to beat. I mean, you look at this entire season, they've been dominant in a lot of games, but their 3 losses, once again, have all been really close. They've come with their 3 points, and I mean, so this is a team that you could maybe even consider to be better than their 8-3 record right now. But I mean, once again, there's going to be a lot of emotion in this matchup, I feel like, for Oregon State especially. You consider everything that Oregon State and Washington State have been through with the Pac-12 kind of falling apart in the last year, which is really, I mean, this has been quite a way for the Pac-12 to go out as we know it. I mean, you got so many good teams. I would argue the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football this season. The SEC is a conference that maybe has better teams at the top, but even you got Washington and Oregon that I feel like could really compete against anyone in the country this season. So, I mean, the Pac-12, you could say it's the best conference in the nation this year, and honestly, it would be a strong argument. But I mean, for the Pac-12, it's too bad. And so for Oregon State being a team that's kind of got a future of uncertainty right now, I mean, this is a way for them to get the last laugh against Oregon as they head to the Big Ten. But for the Ducks, I would say this is the most complete team in the Pac-12 this season when you compare them with, say, Washington. I feel like Washington's maybe got the higher ceiling offensively, but Oregon's been more consistent this season as well. I mean, this team defensively is better. I mean, so there's a lot to like about the Ducks at this point in the season. And Bo Nix, he's a very strong bet to win the Heisman. I feel like, I mean, he's only turned over the ball. He's only thrown 2 picks this season, which is a huge reason why this team has been so competitive. And so he's definitely a front runner there. And obviously college football playoff hope's still alive, but this team has got to win. So a lot of pressures on Oregon here. Oregon State doesn't have much to lose at this point, but considering the emotion the Beavers are going to have, there's a lot on the line here in this matchup. So with that, let's get the prediction here for Oregon State and Oregon coming up here in week 13 of action. In the end, I do want to go with the favorite. Oregon's going to win it 38-31. I feel like it's going to be closer, though, than what the spread thinks. It's currently 14 points pretty much towards the Ducks. But I think Oregon State is going to put up quite a fight here. This is a really good Oregon State team. And I do think that the Ducks find a way here to win this matchup. But Oregon State's they're going to keep it close. I really do think that. So I'll say 55% towards the Ducks. I'm taking the over on the points. I think this is going to be a high-scoring shootout. I do think the Beavers cover the spread, but it's just not going to be enough. And the Ducks find a way to win. But this puts them in the Pac-12 title game against Washington next week. So that's obviously going to be a matchup that winner goes to the college football playoff pretty much. So that's obviously going to be the critical matchup that's down the road. But if the Ducks can win this matchup, that's one step closer to the college football playoff for them. But with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, your score predictions, all of that. And stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.